This crazy shit is some sad shit. And I don't mean to make fun or make light of the situation I'm about to describe. It's about a lake that, um, in a sense, it burped. Some people will say it exploded. What happened was there was this lake. It's called Lake Neos in northern Cameroon, and it's a volcanic lake. A lot of the lakes in this area are volcanic. There's lots of gas that builds up underneath the lakes, and if the gas can't escape, it stays underneath the lake. And in this case, in the case of Lake Neos, there was a lot of mud and silt underneath the lake, at the bottom of the lake, and the gas couldn't escape. And one day it exploded, or it burped. There was apparently a landslide or a mudslide of some sort, and it shook up the bottom of the lake, and the gas came up and out, and it rolled down the mountainside. As you can kind of see in this diagram here, Lake Neos is, I believe, just over my shoulder here, and the gas came up, but because it was heavier than air, it's carbon monoxide and I think methane, what different heavier than air gases, they went up, but then they went down, and they went down the valleys into the countryside, where they killed hundreds of people and cattle. It was a very tragic incident, and I remember the Peace Corps telling all the volunteers, "You need to call home and make sure your parents know you're okay." This made the national news in America, and I did call home. Well, actually, I didn't call home. I had another friend from Cleveland, another volunteer friend from Cleveland. He made it through. It was difficult to call the U.S. There was only like one line in the whole city. He had to connect to one country to another country and so on. And anyway, I got my friend who talked to his parents to call my parents, so they knew I was okay. It ends up my sister, who always knows I'm like a jinx, or bad things are going to follow me, or crazy shit's going to happen around me. She said, "Of course, if a lake's going to explode, it's going to be when you were there, Brad. Why else would a lake explode?" Which is kind of, yeah, it's kind of my nature. A few years later, I went to Thailand, and they had the worst like a month later, they had the worst mudslides in recorded history. Well, anyway, it was a very tragic event. There was great mourning throughout the country. And about a month or two later, they were having this great big death ceremony in Bamenda, where I was living. Cameroon is very much traditional. They believe in animist. They might be Christian. Officially, they might be Christian, and everyone might call themselves Christian, but they're very animist at heart. Everything has a spirit. There's gods everywhere. Things are meant to happen for a reason. You don't want to upset the gods. So they were of the belief that the gods had caused this to happen. Some different gods were unhappy. So they had this big dance ceremony. Very traditional, very beautiful, amazing. The drums and the music were just unbelievable. Well, National Geographic sent a team over to record this and to write a story about it, and they needed some help. So they went to the Peace Corps, the main Peace Corps home in Bamenda, and I happened to be visiting there that day. And they asked for someone who could help carry their stuff around, and I said, "Oh," I raised my hand. I said, "Hey, I'll help you. I'll carry your cameras for you." And so as they traveled around interviewing people and talking to people, I was there holding the bags. That was me. You don't see me. I don't get any credit. Actually, here's the magazine right here. There will be credit for the writer and the photographer, but there is no credit for the person holding the camera bags. It really is a shame. There should be. But if you look in this picture, it's a beautiful picture of this dancer, and behind the picture is a photographer, and behind that photographer is me. And the photographer and the writer, they had this inflatable boat, which they didn't really need anymore. After the story was finished, they just decided they didn't need it, so they gave it to me. And I had this boat that I used a few times, just floating around the different lakes and all. And in the end, I bought the magazine. And here you go. You see, I have the magazine. This is my time of fame. And crazy.